Ooh, all right, we have done it. We have made it. Hello, welcome everybody. Sorry for being a little bit late there. Ooh. Weird tech support issues. Well, really weird tech issues, I should say, sort of kept us kept us offline. The gods of the internet decreed that packets could come in, but they could not escape, kind of like it was the black hole of the internet. However, I have gotten on the horn with my ISP. We did a little bit of poking, prodding, and we're up and running again. And in 2 to 3 days' time, business days, I guess, in in my mail will come some new hardware that I can use to swap out with this particular modem, which has been working for a lot of time nonstop. Hello Ashwin, welcome. For anybody that might be watching this now or future times when this goes up, if you follow me also on Twitch and you know that occasionally we have problems with the stream bandwidth there, which originally we thought was Twitch, and then I thought was perhaps my router because my router was quite old. No, it's definitely the modem. Probably. I mean, well, I can't say it definitely until we resolve the issue. They couldn't necessarily see any problems, but also they couldn't help but note that zero point 0.1 megabits upstream is pathetic. So we should be good to go now, I think. So everything's just all wacky. We're a little bit late here. And I was going to try to end the stream right on time at 10 o'clock because I have some stuff to prepare for a trip tomorrow, to work tomorrow. But yeah, I know, right? I'm spreading out all over everywhere. Speaking of which, I spent a bunch of time on the weekend in that area just back there. Yeah, there, that right there. Which you may remember is the place where once upon a time you used to see me create YouTube videos back there. And what I was testing out was a new workflow for capturing videos. I think I've mentioned this in the past, but aside of coming up with the video topics from the list and working out what the demonstration is going to be and the bullet point list of topics that I want to hit, when it comes time to actually create one of these videos, the order of operations is fire up the headset, fire up the microphone here. Well, I'm pointing at that back area right there. Yeah, and there's a little table right there. That glowy spot there is the desk lamp that allows me to see while I'm doing stuff. Although I was pretty high. I was high on video recording. Hello, Ben. So normally when I record a video, I record the video in the camera and record the audio in the computer because USB mic and various attempts at trying to bridge those two things didn't really work out that great. So when videos recording is done, then I need to pull the memory card out of the camera and pull it onto the computer because it's faster than using its direct cable connection because I got a faster reader for that. And then also I have the audio, and I have to make sure that I synchronize the audio to the video, which means every time I start recording a video clip, I need to make sure that I do something, with I use a dog clicker, but other people clap their hands or use a slate to make the synchronization point so that I can synchronize the audio with the video so that I can get everything prepared and create everything up. But also my camcorder uses FAT16, which means that it wants to roll files over at roughly 2 gigabytes, which is, I think it was 2 gigabytes. Basically, it's round about the 22-ish minutes. It splits to another file. They say that that's seamless. It is not seamless. You can tell the video hitches and the audio clicks when the swap over from one file to the next happens. So everything that I record, I tried to do in 20-minute segments as I'm recording stuff. And since there's all of the nonsense to do with making sure that everything synchronizes, I try to fit as many things as possible into the segment, which means that editing gets a little bit harder because there's multiple takes in there that need to be pulled out. Anyway, all this to say that what I'm experimenting with now using video capture is capturing the video from the camera directly into the computer and the mic audio directly into the computer, which gives me the ability to start and stop recordings directly from the computer wholly. It's going to record the audio and synchronize it directly with the video after all of the work I did to figure out exactly what latency I needed to make them line up with the VSTs that I'm using to try to sweeten the audio a little bit. And that means that when I record, I can create individual recordings for each scene. There's not pulling stuff down. There's not trying to synchronize the audio. So all of that part is completely seamless. The whole process gets faster. Editing gets faster. So in that regard, and I spent the weekend futzing around with various things and camera settings and the like, I think I'm in a pretty good state here for what we're going to attempt to accomplish in the next little bit. And that is my coworker sending me a WebP image, which the browser doesn't want to display, so that's kind of weird. But a video series that is getting started with Sublime Text. I'm not entirely sure what the name of it would be. I'm trying to come up with a clever thing like, Squire to Wizard or something, or Noob to Wizard. I don't know. I'm not good at naming things. But since all the content on the channel is basically revolving around the idea thus far that you know how to use Sublime, but you don't know how key bindings work, or if you want to know about build systems and the like, one thing that I think is kind of missing in the free front is something that says, this is Sublime Text, this is what the windows look like, there's the sidebar, let's talk about that, you know. So what I'd love to do, and you can tell me, you know, if you're watching this now, or, you know, in the future, if you happen to be watching the replay of this, what you'd like to see in a thing like that, if you think that's actually a good idea. But also, you know that videos in the channel always start with, you know, a little introduction and then the video sequence, and then, you know, hello, fellow Sublime Text fanatics, ODAT nerd here, and it ends with have a Sublime day, etc. I think for something like this, which is a dedicated thing, what I'm looking at doing is creating a series of videos no more than, say, 5 minutes that narrow in on a particular thing that don't have that kind of preamble beginning and end on them, so that it's just, you know, you could watch 30 of them in a row. You can link somebody to something and it's going to be just the topic that they need. You don't need to see me do an introduction and a follow-up on the end of all of them. So that's gonna be the next big thing that happens, and as a part of this, because there haven't been videos on the channel in a while, and I'm ramping up to it, but I'm trying to change how I do it, because as I mentioned previously as well, there's doing a video a week, while possible, you know, clearly I did it for a long period of time. There is, you know, there's benefits in the process to having more videos in the hopper at any one time, right? So the idea would be that videos might come out only once every couple of weeks once we get rolling, and then maybe we can reinvestigate going back. But that'll allow me to do like a week where it's just recording of this and get like tons of video footage in the can, get that all assembled into videos, and then cycle back through with recording the screencast stuff and then the final polish, because all of those tasks, while time consuming, get faster the more you do the same thing in a row. You know, you sort of fall into that rhythm of cut, trim, do this, position that there, etc. So there hasn't been videos on the channel in a while, and I apologize for that. You know, life conspired for a while, and then it was just sort of nice to have just a little bit of a break from the breakneck pace of that sort of thing. But they are coming back, and I'm hoping to have a lot more content. Please make a video on how to write a proper build system for competitive programming. I can certainly help with that, Akash. What I don't understand per se is what competitive programming actually is. It's not a thing that I've been a developer for 37 years, but I've never done it competitively. But it seems like whenever anybody talks about it, what they want is to be able to run a program where it takes input from a file and writes output to a file, and that seems like a solved problem. So if it's not, if you can point out what is different about those things, what you'd like to see, that's definitely something that we can pull off. And I can't help but notice that I did not press a button, or that's just, oh, I broke it. Pardon me. Hang on. Let's try that again, shall we? There we go. That might make that a little bit better, maybe. Or maybe not. Let's go ahead and just jump into the this thing anyway. Part of that issue that I was having network related, we had to restart the modem to see if that was going to, you know, turn it off and on again after everything was investigated. So various connections went away. Yeah, also, I had an idea for some questions that I'm going to apologize for this stream, because I've been collecting questions that people have been asking so that we could go over them in here. And my final preparation on that was completely thrown by my network not allowing packets to escape out into the greater internet at large. So I did not quite get fully going with with that particular aspect. So if you have any questions, please do let me know in the chat, as Akash did there. And I might wonder why my Sublime isn't actively running. Oh, I remember why that's the case. Yeah. Well, probably didn't need to do that because I think we created a package last time. Do we remember what it was actively called? Was it called something like Scratch Buffer? Yeah. Did not need to do that. So let's just, well, we can just close it. What the heck? How to put memory limit to output file. As the case of infinite loop, the output file starts growing bigger and bigger, and Sublime Text error dialog won't let me cancel the bit. Well, that last part is actually probably something that you should report. But generally speaking, there's not really a way to put a memory limit on something like that. I guess if you had a custom build target, it could track how much data it thought it pushed through. Not if it's sending it to a file, though. That part's a little more, well, that part's a little more complicated. That is an intriguing idea. Hello, yes, Sam, if I'm reading that correctly. Where's my pencil? Build target that limits output. Yeah. Yeah, I'm interested in that part as well. I have experienced myself a situation where if there's a task that's running wholly out of control, it's hard to cancel it. And I've always thought that's because the build command that's running is, although it's running in the background, it might be using so much time in the main thread to update the output panel that it's hard to interact with. That said, when you do one of these, don't tell me that there's a Chrome OS update now. I'm in the middle of a stream, Chromebeck. Be cool. When you're doing these competitive programming things, presumably your program is supposed to run as quickly as possible. Is that what the competitive part goes? The trick to that, well, I mean, I'm trying to think of it, Ashwin, in a generic build system kind of way, in which case it's very open-ended. If you did have a custom build target, then yeah, it would be able to check as it's shuffling data through. What about you? Because I think if we were to look here, and I think we added this recently. This might be something that is interesting for you. A version of the exec command whereby you specify how long you want it to run at most, and it will automatically cancel itself if it runs for longer than that. So what you could do, and the plugin for this is very simple, as you can see. There's two versions of it, depending on whether you're using Sublime Text 3 or Sublime Text 4. But you could use it exactly as any build system that you currently have. It's a drop-in replacement for the exec command. All you'd have to do is add those two lines to specify that it should run this and how to cancel it, and a timeout that is a maximum time in seconds. Let's say you put 20 in there, so your program has to finish in 20 seconds, and if it doesn't, it will automatically time itself out. So that would be a way to get around that problem as well, because it would automatically kill itself if it ran for too long. This wouldn't work if their program was supposed to be long running. Like if you're trying to find the shortest possible time to calculate the first 50 prime numbers or something, then, you know, maybe you don't know what kind of timeout you need. Man, I'm not sure if he meant that as something that was in the build or something that was in your code. I mean, the flip answer to that question is don't write an infinite loop, and then you won't have that problem. You know? What operating system are you on, Akash? Let's try something here. No, huh? We'll just save that here as untitled dot. Yeah, what the hell? Untitled.c. That'll work. Don't like that, huh? Oh, that's right. This isn't JavaScript. Teehee. All right, that's not going to get much more CPU than that. I can still cancel it though. So like, what operating system are you on that's not the case? I've noticed it seems to be a problem more on Windows. I don't have a way to test that currently, because this is a Linux box here. But theoretically, that should work just fine. I'd be interested in knowing what you mean by error dialog, though. Also, I think somebody is currently working up a package for that sort of thing, but I don't have enough knowledge about what competitive programming actually is. You want me to write it into a file? All right, hang on. That's probably not going to help, huh? Oh, I have been coding in JavaScript too much. I can see why this could potentially be a problem. Can still cancel it though. Connect the output file using freopen. Wait, what? What would freopen have? Hang on a second here. Wow. Boy, that made it cranky. It's gonna be a while. I wonder if I'm gonna blow something up trying to open this ginormo file. The same output gets printed over and over even if I change my code. That sounds like a problem that the code is not doing what you think it's doing. Do you have like a file somewhere in a gist? Because this is probably going to be very hard to try to throw into something. All right, hang on. Well, I mean, realistically, That's going to be standard out, so we can just do that. Probably should open that file first, huh? Is that an R? That's not going to work. You don't want to open it for reading, do you? Or is that like raw? I don't use that one very frequently. Mode. Open text file for reading. I can almost guarantee that trying to reopen standard out for reading probably isn't going to do something that you want it to do, just based on knowing what that's going to be. Are you sure that that's not for grabbing the input? You probably want something more like that, right? What file is it in? Because it obviously ain't in those ones. Oh. Gotcha. Teehee. Uh-oh. Well. That's sort of the thing that you want to be happening there. You probably want to have that file already open because it's never going to catch up at this point. Yeah, I tried to add it and it said no, but it might be because he retracted it. I don't even know why, because it was just C code. At least it let it through. I mean, it wasn't a link, but whatever it was, it had something in it that made YouTube unhappy. You know what? I should probably do that, all else being equal. But you'll notice that it totally allowed me to cancel that build even though that was happening. The results of this might be different on Windows. Are you on Windows? I have definitely noticed that things get a little jankier on Windows in the general case. Well, that might be because of the way that I'm displaying the chat in the box there. I don't think that particular mechanism was meant for that to happen. Slush in the Jug, hello. This is a YouTube live stream. Can you imagine such a thing? I mean, that's my solution, Ben. I will not lie. I use it for reading the internet and watching Twitch videos and occasionally playing games. But I don't like to code on Windows because it seems ambiguously wrong to me to have to download 2+ gigabytes of stuff in order to have tools that build. And for some reason, it'll only work if they're installed in my C drive. And my system has a smaller SSD for drive C, which makes that a unfortunate situation. It's getting really close to being able to finally load what is something that is going to make things very, very unhappy. I promise you, if the stream craps out, I will immediately restart it, because what we generated there was probably several hundred megabytes of one long file, or one long line in a file, which, as we all know, is not necessarily something that's going to make Sublime too happy, you know? It's getting really close to the end now, though. You can't see because the chat's there. Oh, that doesn't help. go. That does. Now you can see it. What did I call that? It's a 6 gig one-line file. That's not going to be good for anybody, right? I know how to write really fast code. Somebody was working on something like that, but I don't think they've worked on it in a bit. It's called live code, I think. There's also something called FluBits, but I've never used it myself. When you have this problem, how big is the output file? Do you know? We're just sort of chatting here while I try to think of something else that would trigger this. But something real exciting is gonna happen in a second, I'm sure. Or maybe it'll be anticlimactic. It's hard to say. Oh, that part's still doing good. All right, I think it's fully loaded. Now it's just trying to turn it into something. There may be a... It's all the way loaded, and it's only the one line. So I don't have word wrap turned on. What's it actually doing at this point if the full content is loaded into memory? Surely syntax highlighting for plain text doesn't need to run at the best of times, let alone on a 5 gig file. Because there's a setting that constrains that, right? We may have to give up on being able to open this file. But since the point was whether or not we could actively display the content in it, I guess that's something that we haven't actually done here yet, huh? So let's say, for the purposes of argument, that we just sort of, quit out of that for a second. Make sure that there's, no untoward action running. Open the file. All right. I can't summon the... All right, so there's an issue. Uh-oh. We may have made it unhappy this time. Uh-oh. Okay, let's try not doing that. I really can't escape the advice that don't write an infinite loop is probably the best situation to get yourself into. But those are all recoverable sorts of things. Although I will say in that particular case, I was unable to summon the command palette. So that might be a thing. A plugin to improve the integration of Subble with Python. I'm learning the language using Pygame, and I noticed Subble fails to suggest... when you say Subble, you mean using Sublime Text in general and not the command line tool for opening stuff. Sorry. The fans are still spinning out of control down there. I'm curious if stuff is still... actively winging along. What's this untitled command? That doesn't seem kosher. Oh, that's the actual thing that's still running. Pardon me. That'll resolve that particular problem. Hang on. Ah. Quieter and better. All right. I should have known that that probably wouldn't do a thing. The thing that you want to look into is this. If you don't already use it, you want to install LSP, and then you want to install LSP Pi, right? No, Pi LSP, right? Pi LSP. This will give you the same sort of completions that you get out of the same situation in Visual Studio Code, as I understand it. I'm going to be creating videos on this sometime soon. It's not a package I use myself, so those are ones that are going to require a little bit more of investigation on my end to make sure that I know what I'm talking about. The internet's already replete with people that have videos that explain how to do something that doesn't necessarily explain how anything works or is actively wrong, and I don't want to be the person that tries to, adds to that particular situation. I managed to generate 6 gigabits, or 6 gigs within a minute. The problem, if that happens again, kill the program that you're running outside of Sublime. That last example that we ran there, because it was trying to write to the file that was already displayed, it was chasing being able to display it because it was generating output faster than Sublime could load it, I think is the situation. I was unable to, there wasn't a an error dialog box, but I was unable to summon the command palette to be able to cancel it, in which case using your task manager to do it is probably the only way. No worries. No, that's you know, when I think of Subble, I think of this, you know, because that's the name of that command, and it talks to running Sublime. But I get what you mean. I might actually have that installed. Uh-oh. Why is that saying... Oh. Oh, okay. That would explain some stuff. So I guess the real question is, if that says show overlay, how come I'm not seeing the overlay? That seems like a potential issue. No? Just me? How did I do that? That's a long-lasting problem is what that is. There is a 3.3 plugin host and a 3.8 plugin host and Sublime Text ---- detached. That's what I would expect to see. Also, that key's not quite doing what a person would expect it to do either. I think we made it very unhappy. I kind of can't quit it now. That's an intriguing course of events. Well, I think we proved that we can make it very unhappy. I've never seen that happen before. Quit is just cycling between windows as if I was pushing tab, which is the same as what that seems to do. I see. There's still a Sublime running even though it's not actively connected to anything. That's probably unfortunate. Don't run 2 instances of Sublime simultaneously because things won't work the way that you expect them to. That's probably the lesson to be had there. Anyway, or I broke it again. Wow, this is really turning into a red letter night. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, that ain't gonna work. Number one troubleshooting step at any given point is, does it happen in safe mode? Because if it doesn't, I have a feeling it has something to do with, if I looked at my session information, the session is probably several gigabytes. Oh, no, huh? Well, that's intriguing. I would have thought, well, I mean, there could still be something wrong with the session per se, so. Oh, wait, that might not be, yeah. That's the correct locale for that, right? Uh-huh. Start. Everything seems to be fine. We're really learning a lot about troubleshooting here. And I can quit it. So, all right. It's just a tech support kind of night, ladies and gentlemen. It's a tech support kind of night. Yeah, that does not want to do squat doodly, huh? All right, here's what we're gonna do. Well, not quit it, obviously, because that ain't gonna work. I wasn't even supposed to be here today. That's not true. We're gonna get rid of that, and we're gonna get rid of that, and we're gonna get rid of that. And then we're going to go to... no, that didn't solve anything. Didn't like that so much. Neither. That'll make that easier to read. We'll go ahead and put that back because that part's not an issue. Shouldn't there be a cache directory in here somewhere? Why is there a log directory in here? Oh, neat. Package storage. What now? That's new. Well, I guess not really. What's that? This. If I start Sublime and wait for it to restart, we can log commands and see that it is receiving the command to show the overlay, but it's not. Also, it receives the command to do that, but it's not. Didn't seem to be related to the session. I moved the session out of the way so it created a fresh one, and it still did the same thing. So I was just looking to see if there was something funky about the cache. But in order to resolve that particular problem, we got to do... Yeah, in safe mode, it does not seem to be an issue. So there's definitely something funky going on. There. Okay, so if I do that, yeah, I'm aware. That part's cool. My eyes hurt. It doesn't have anything exciting going on there, and that totally works the way one would expect it to, including that. So at some level, that part's cool. So if the session was gone, boom, like so, then it still does the same thing. It starts everything up and then doesn't respond to that. So it's not that it's restoring something from the session that's causing it to be a problem, and it wasn't doing this before we ran that build. So what's left here? Also, what's this package storage thing? Is that a new thing that I've just managed to not notice for all of this time? Probably should kill it before I do that, huh? Sorry. We want you. I wonder, I probably have a package that's doing something. Maybe it's even one that I created. Although I don't remember doing it. Yeah. That's definitely something funky going on here. I'd be curious to know about that. We'll do that. So there's not a Sublime Text. There's just a Sublime Text.old. Then we start it up. Nope. That's pretty whack. Like crack, that's whack. With no cache and no that, I mean, the first thought that comes to mind is plugin out of control. Except that this wasn't a problem until we ran that test that required me to kill it. Literate programming. What do I think of literate programming? I don't think that's a thing that I've ever done. Realistically speaking. Yeah, let's see. Let me see what the exact term means. Programming paradigm introduced by Knuth, in which a computer program is given an explanation of its logic in a natural language such as English, interspersed with snippets of macros and traditional source code. I've definitely not done anything with that, although I do comment my code 40 ways from 20. Ooh, that's a good point. Here, let's see. We'll just do that one more time. Come on, man. There we go. We'll just make sure that is that and that one. And oh, don't do that, guy. No, sorry, that would be a package control. Nothing in process. Various things installed. That's nothing to be too concerned about, I don't think. That's a thing that hasn't worked for months, so I'm not going to be too worried about leaking that. The list of ignored packages is about what I would expect. So nothing regarding that here, per se. The thing that I was curious about was whether or not I had... The real problem is finding things that aren't Chrome. Thanks, Chrome, for having 1,000 things going on at any given time. Chrome, and Discord. Yeah, I just can't figure what it would actively be. Or why, I guess, is the more important question. What's that? Oh, did I not? Oh. Okay, the list of tasks that aren't those. Oh, and aren't OBS Studio. Ugh. I'm curious if I have something errant running in the background here. That may also be causing some sort of issue, but it doesn't look like it. Well, I mean, I guess for clarity's sake. There's that. Nothing too exciting going on there. So that part's cool. My eyes. Well, whatever it is isn't in my user package. So we got that going. Not running package cleanup since bootstrapping is not yet complete. Oh, interesting. Was it saying that before, I wonder? What would affect safe mode? I'm not sure when it was that you said that. Oh, if there was something running? Oh, yeah. I would assume so, but then I would also assume that if I ran a program and killed it externally, that I would still be able to open the command palette. So, you know, there's layers to that onion. Here's the question that you might be... that's saying that it's seeing the command, but the command isn't actually running. Any command isn't running. Even exit isn't running. What prints that? Is that the core printing it in its console, or is that the plugin host doing it? Because this almost seems like the plugin host is not properly talking to the core. Although I can't imagine why that would be the case. So, yeah, that's just freaking awful. Hang on. If we were to see, is there a plugin host running right now for Sublime? I guess would probably be... that's running. And that's running. 3927, you say. What's the 3927 there? Is there any possibility that the communication between the plugin host and the core has been screwed in some fashion? Like, if it didn't shut down properly, would it have left some sort of shared memory segment open that a reboot is required to fix, or something along those lines? Or does it just use like dbus or something to communicate through? Because I'm curious. Wait a minute. Okay, well that's interesting. Clear that. Do this. Remember when it was running a second ago? Did I kill it manually? I don't even remember. We are in a very pristine state. Yeah, that's cool. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Just calm yourself down there, guy. It'll all be cool. It'll all be kosher. That part's working again. Probably don't put that particular... Various packages are in the process of being installed here. We can quit it. Everything's cool. Oh, it's removing all my dependencies. This is a fun diagnostic session. Ooh, that's not the thing that I'm interested in here. I see. All right. Well, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to quit out of this, and then we're going to go to well, make sure that's not actually running. I don't know if there was some. Uh-oh. My Sublime window can show a lot of things. Hello. What things do you mean? The chat up there and the picture of me in here aren't actually being displayed in Sublime. That's just some video trickery. Well, I can't explain that, but I think there might have, maybe there were some extra plugin hosts that were still running, or the like. Back to roughly what I would expect. I don't even know why that was in there, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, thanks. Stop saying that. I don't even know where the hell it was getting those from, to be perfectly honest. Oh, I know why those ones aren't working. For some reason, it thinks that the certificate on that particular thing isn't there. Yeah. Those aren't actually being displayed inside of Sublime at the moment. They're just empty windows that have something displaying on top of them. Although it is a very common thing that I get asked. I don't know where that would have come from. Uh-oh, the problem is back. That is intriguing. The plugin hosts are busted. It was working for a bit, and now it's not. I didn't add any plugins, so what's the deal? What's the scoop? What's the poop on this one? This is the most intriguing situation to have had happen. Oh, that part worked at least. That's exciting. But now it won't work anymore. One channel, ignore those packages in process. No, they're not in process. Please stop doing something with them. They're just ignored. As a matter of fact, let's say that this and Sublime GTKRC, whatever that is, aren't things that currently exist. So let's just do that. And then we don't even need those in-process packages to even be there. Hello. Welcome in, Cyberlanka. Packages here that are new? None. That would solve those particular problems. That's not a... Oh, okay. Yeah, whatever this is, maybe this doesn't exist anymore. Maybe that's part of our problem here. Why can't it talk to that? Well, in any case, I'm not actually interested in it anyhow, so we'll just go ahead and whack it like so, and life will be good. I definitely don't care about you. We definitely don't care about you. We do like so. Oh, I think maybe it was back. I wonder if it's just doing something in the background for a while. In any case, I think we're back to the situation that we should be in until we find out otherwise, anyway. Although, we're going to need to install that package, otherwise life is going to be terrible for me. So how unfortunate for us that package control decided to blomp it out of the way. I think we got stuff going here. If you're watching, if you have a question about Sublime, if you have a question about anything, please feel free to let me know, and we will go into it. It has been an incredibly weird night full of tech support issues with my network, causing the stream to start a little bit late, which derailed us a little bit. And then we somehow managed to break Sublime in a way that I cannot accurately explain. But just those, huh? All right. I think we're going to need to fire up this thing here. Our package control user settings. The thing that we're interested in is this, which for unknown reasons it's decided it can no longer talk to, which is unfortunate because it's totally got a valid situation. But what we can do is just a little bit of this. We'll comment that out for the time being and do this. And oh, it's probably still ignored. You don't need to be ignored because you're not supposed to be here. Could you demonstrate how to get clickable paths and links, even non-error debug ones? We could try something like that. Do you have a use case for that, Cyberlenka? Just in general? Let's verify that that did what I wanted to do first. That's not the thing that has the focus. And Swanko. All right, cool. So, how do we contrive an example of something like this? Is the question of the day. The situation that this should work in uses the file regex and the line regex options that are available to build systems, which allows the system to detect when there's a file name and then attempt to load it. And generally speaking, such a file name usually has to be an absolute file name. So if it just had the name of a file like bob.txt, it can't necessarily make sure that it can always open that based on the way that the mechanism works. You would need more of a plugin for that. The classic example of this, thanks, but really? Oh, pardon me. Would be something like this. We're not going to actually put that in there because that totally broke stuff last time. But say we did this. And there wasn't a semicolon there. If I try to build this, and we'll just do the compile one in this particular case, then we get this error message that blops out here that is unhappy about some stuff. And you probably can't see it unless I do this. You get this little annotation here too, right? The way that this works is that the build system that's in use here has settings that allow Sublime to detect what things represent error messages and their location, which in this case is here. So it knows that this is the name of the file, that this is the line, that this is the column, and that this is the error message. And one way that you can tell that that's working in the build is that specifically this thing pops up on the appropriate line with the error message that you see down here. And it's not immediately obvious, but if you double click it, it'll open the file to that exact location as well. It knows exactly the position. In fact, even if this cursor was way over here, if I double click this thing, it jumps exactly to the place where this is saying that there's an error, line 7, column 28, which is exactly where this is. You can see that down in the status bar down here. And then you can, close that if you like. If you're using Sublime Text 3, the same thing happens, only instead of an annotation on the right-hand side of the line, you see a little bubble that pops in. There's a setting that controls that. It's a show errors in line. Now, when I did that, I picked this build system, C single file. So if I was to do something like this and say C single file Sublime build, this is the build system that's responsible for doing this. And the magic of this whole situation is this line right here. Hey, bees. Good morning, good sir. How are you doing? Amazing, I hope. This regular expression is allowing Sublime to know that anything that matches this is a file to navigate to, and specifically it knows about file, line, column, and error message specifically, and that's what these 4 groups are capturing. This works just in a regular build, right? This is just a standard build system. That's the one that's being used. We can see that it knows exactly the location, it knows exactly the error, and it pulled all of that stuff out. Now, if we were to do the same thing and pick interactive C, we get an error message out of Terminus exactly the same way as we got it out of the build system. And if I double click on this, it jumps directly to the file. I'm going to close that and close this file. And if we double click on this particular thing here, it still navigates exactly to the file and the appropriate thing. And the reason why that works is because if we look at interactive C, right? That's what that one was. So let's look at interactive C. That's this one. Let's put it down here. Whoops, I did not mean to do that. It's one of those kinds of days, you know? There we go. So there's that one. There's this one. And you might notice that these are stunningly similar. In their shell command that runs GCC, in their file regex that captures this thing, that there's a working directory in here, and that there's a source in here. So as far as Terminus is concerned, you can use file regex exactly the same way as you can in a regular build, which is why the output of this thing, if I double click on this, because that line matches, opens this up. So in that case, if you want to do something like that, like you might notice that if I find the, because I closed it. If I click on this one, nothing happens if I double click on this one, only on that one. And that is entirely because the regular expression needs to match all of this. So for your case, just something like, well, what's that actually look like? That is probably enough. The other thing to keep in mind about this is the file that it tries to open is the name of the file that it matched here, which is always the value of the very first capture in the regex, no matter what. It's always, right now, the very first capture. There's no way to get around that. If the file name that it captures isn't a fully qualified name like this is, if it was just untitled.c in here and it didn't have that part, then in order to know what file it's supposed to open, it looks at an extra thing, which is the working dir here. And you can use the exact same thing in Terminus. There it is. I'm just blind. So if the file name it matches isn't an absolute file name, it'll assume that it's relative to the working dir. So those two things together can get you most of the way there, I would think. Depending on, again, on your use case for that sort of situation. And bees, if you're still here, glad to see you. I missed your stream yesterday, or you didn't stream yesterday. It's entirely unclear. I've been running with my phone in quiet time mode because of all of the meetings that happen. So as a result, I never get notified of anything anymore. But you said you were going to stream, so I assume that you probably were going to unless something came up. Let's say we don't actively need you or you or you or, well, really this. We're just sort of back to that situation. I don't like the mini-map. Busy. I know the feeling. I know it well. What do we got going on up here? Strager's talking about me. Uh-oh. Okay. So normally this would be around the time that we end the stream, but it only went an hour and a half because of that stupid network problem that I had. Looking forward to getting a new modem, and maybe that'll be the last time that that particular problem happens. I think we can manage to go a little bit longer on this one. Just because part of that was the stream starting late, and part of it was trying to figure out exactly how we managed to break Sublime. And I'm guessing I must have had an errant plugin host running in the background that was causing problems, because it really seemed like it wasn't properly communicating with the plugin host. And based on the weird machinations of stuff that we did, I'm not entirely surprised by that. That is still not Sublime, no matter how many times I do it. But let's say we were to open something like, what's that thing we called it again? Scratch buffer. It's the scratchiest of all the buffers. Okay, and you know what? Just very quickly. Boom to session.sublime session. So now we're going to end up with the wrong stuff, but that's okay. Should still all work, and then we can open package. Scratch buffer. There we go. That'll make us a little bit happier. We close this window. Now my history is back. Hooray! All those commands I forgot how to type. They're all back in here. So this is something that we were working on in the last stream, which wasn't last week, it was the week before, because work is a jerk. It rhymes. It's a thing. So we came up with this. Setting to not display certain packages, setting to exclude hidden syntaxes. I'm not entirely sure why we wanted to do that, but it's totally a thing that we could actively do. If we're going to do that, we're going to have preferences. So there's a little bit more work to do with this. For the unaware, what this package does is allow you to say you'd like a scratch buffer, and that's prompt us for the syntax. It finds a list of all of the syntaxes that are currently available throughout all packages, and will create a file that contains that thing. So say you wanted to work on a sample JSON file. We could do that. This tab is named Scratch JSON, and the syntax definition is JSON. So we could start throwing some data in here. You know? And so on. So I think it would probably be angry about that, or maybe it's not. The theory behind this is that if you were just working on some sample stuff, you want to be able to close that. Say, for example, someone has, we have like a sample of Python code that someone has. You could say scratch buffer, prompt for syntax, Python, copy the text from somewhere, paste it in, and it's syntax highlighted as Python, which is a bad example because that would have happened here anyway. Incredibly handy. If you want to keep the file's content, you can try to save it and give it a name, but otherwise you can close this tab. No matter what changes you make, doesn't matter. It's not going to mark it as modified, so you can close it with impunity. This is a package that we're working on. It's basically a plugin that's in the Stealthy and Hasty Sublime Scraps plugin repository of things, and I've had people request to add it to package control because they find it useful, and I need to create a video on how to add something to package control, and it seems like the best way to do that would be to actually add a package to package control and show you the whole thing from beginning to end. So this is going to be the sample thing that we do that with, is the idea here. So we'll do a couple of more tweaks to this thing, and then we'll be good to go to work on that when the time comes. There's a plugin for Sublime 4 to provide drag and drop features for the file tree or make it a little bit more interactive. No. There's not a plugin for doing anything with the sidebar, and there can't be one because there's not an API for it, unfortunately. It's an often asked for thing. There's a package called File Manager, which might make your life a little bit nicer, depending on what you want to do. I use it. So say, for example, if you could type, you can create a new file or whatever. You can delete the file, duplicate it, move it, copy it around. So if I didn't want this to be here, it would ask me where it wants me to move it to, and then it would just move it there. But when it comes to the sidebar, it's more for visualization purposes. So any package that would allow you to do that would basically have to implement an entire sidebar on its own as a sample, as a text file, kind of like this. And it would also have to manually figure out all of the files on its own because Sublime doesn't tell it that. So I don't think there's anything that's like that per se, unfortunately. But yeah, if you're using Sublime, you can use help, report a bug. That'll take you to a web page. That's going to always open in the wrong thing because that's just how that works. And one of the things you can look into in here is add an enhancement or feature request or a bug report. But if you search here, you can probably search for sidebar API and file outline pane. And there's going to be something in here that covers that particular thing. You can find it and thumb it up to register your interest. I lost track of my tabs. Boop. Say, for example, you want to move a couple files back and forth to use. Personally, for me, example of how I might do something like that. I might say that I want there to be a resources directory, and I want to move the default Sublime commands into the resources directory. Is probably how I would do it, because I'm more of a do stuff by typing a file name guy than I am a drag and drop kind of guy or a open up a file manager kind of dude. You might also note that I don't have drag and drop turned on in here because the idea of dragging and dropping text gives me the heebie-jeebies. That said, I want to move this file, and I want it to be in the parent directory, and it's in the parent directory. So that is a thing that I do at times as well. It's kind of an either or which one of those things I pick at any given time. I'm also fond of saying new file relative to current view, and then say, and it'll automatically create a file in the same directory as wherever I currently am. It's hard to say, or it's hard to prove this based on you watching me do stuff in streams and in videos, but I don't tend to use the mouse quite as much as you see me do here. I use it as an on-screen extension of myself. I generally try to work as much as possible without ever touching the mouse. So in that regard, except for being able to manipulate stuff in here with the keys, I generally don't interface with the sidebar much. It is one thing that I will use the mouse to try to find a file or reveal in sidebar to figure out where it's actually stashed. Indeed, yeah. And this is entirely one of those user preference situations. I will admit, I am an old man who, back in the days of computing when I got into it, there wasn't a file manager with icons you can drag and drop. Everything was a manual copy command that you had to take. So it's very ingrained in me at this level. And in fact, when I work on videos for the channel, and I'm storing files and having to work with a file dialog box and then trying to navigate to the places where the video clips are so that I can drag them into the software for joining them up with the audio. That's some of the most tedious part, because it's you have to do it, but it just seems wrong somehow, you know? Let's reload that. Whoa. What the hell's going on here? Oh. Someone just touching base with me. That's totally cool. So, hopefully that answers your question. Yeah. It is a much asked for situation. I will say that. The other thing don't fall into the trap of thinking of this as a system browser, if you will, because any files that are open in here are indexed by Sublime, and it needs to chase down all the files in all of the folders that you add so that you can navigate to them. So if you do something like add your home directory or the root of your drive to this thing, you will cause Sublime to use several gigabytes of RAM, as it very slowly finds every file that exists in every folder on your hard drive so that it can present it to you in the list. So in that regard, unlike some applications like Dreamweaver and the like, it's really meant to be a focused view on the files that you're dealing with. But I do indeed mostly use a combination of moving files around and command line stuff. It would be interesting for someone to watch my streams when I'm coding and see if there's some correlation for why I do one versus another, because I'm not entirely sure, to be perfectly honest. I don't think we necessarily actually want that there, so we'll just get rid of it, because this is a simple package. Oh, similarly, that as well. That's also a thing that I do at times as well, but more often than not, if I'm going to delete a file, I'm going to delete the file that I currently have open. Yeah, precisely. Yeah. I've never treated it as such, and as I said, I don't tend to like working with them that way. I do find it handy as a visualization for my project, what files are stored where, and to remind me of the names of things in case I forget. But I've never really wanted to be able to move files around by dragging and dropping in there, so I've never missed it personally. Are we going to have any keys for this? I don't think we are. So I don't think we actually want that one. What that did was add an item in here to view our README file, which I clearly set up some funky settings for as a part of a previous demonstration of something. Yeep. There we go. And it's going to give us a settings file, so we're going to need to create one of those too. This is where I'd say new file relative to current view and say scratch buffer.sublime settings. So preferences, package settings, scratch buffer settings opens up the tab. Oh, I probably don't want that file. Yeah, I use File Manager for that stuff, and I don't even use it to its full capabilities, really. Creating files, deleting files, and occasionally moving them. Not what we want. We want scratch buffer settings. It created a new tab. Right on. So settings that we'd actually want this to have. I prefer Thunar myself, but that's just me. In fact, a funny story. This little bump out sidebar here, I very specifically set this to be my packages folder so that if I wanted to open the folder and look at it, you know, like this thing that we're currently working on right now, which is like Scratch Buffer. So I guess it should be in here theoretically. It's probably pointed at the wrong place now. If I had to bet, it's probably pointed at Sublime Text 3 and not Sublime Text, which isn't my actual packages folder, because that's probably the first time that I've clicked on any of the icons in there since I originally set that up 4 years ago. Because I am not used to manipulating files in a window like this, or in a, you know, file managery kind of way, and it's also not the way that I would choose to go to a particular folder. You know, if I wanted to go to the make files folder, I do this. Well, I guess I'd probably do that if it was actually there, which it's not. It's looking at the wrong thing. I have been on the lookout for a Windows file system that's multi-pane, but not multi-pane as in left-right, multi-pane as in 5 or 6 different things all open all at the same time, specifically for working with video stuff. But I have yet to find a decent implementation of that either. So, surely you want to put an entire terminal emulator and an entire file system browser and a whole browser inside of here so that no one ever has to leave your fantastic software, he said jokingly, because correct tool for the job is 100% where things go. When this is turned on, syntaxes which are marked as hidden will be... Uh-oh. Why does that not work? Something's broken. Yeah. Why did that go away? Oh, I put it in the wrong place, amongst other things, so that's probably why. Teehee. Oh, no, I didn't. That can't be something that it's doing something with, but there we go. I may have made it very unhappy with some of that stuff that I was doing. I agree, Ashwin. I want to have the developers of the software that I use dedicate their time to making their particular aspect of something the best situation that it can be, and it's too hard to have a good focus on on good functionality, not necessarily proper functionality, but good functionality if you're trying to throw 20 darts at the board at once kind of situation. Yeah, merge is awesome. I still kind of think, like, you know, somebody jokingly mentioned Sublime Terminal. And I know that I would actually find that kind of thing interesting, and the reason for it is wholly because I've been very irritated with Windows Terminal lately because it's not possible to do this. And it's also not possible to do this. People have been asking for it since 2019, and it sounds like this might be the year where it actually happens. But that's unfortunate for me because I kind of want now to be the time that that works. And you know that if Sublime HQ was doing something like this, Ben would make sure that stuff works. So every time I decide that one of the tabs in one of my terminal windows would be better served in another window, I got to create a brand new tab and try to navigate to the same place and run the same thing and then close the other one. Yeah, Cyberlanka, it can be. It's a different beast than, like to some degree Visual Studio, definitely things like IntelliJ and the like. As a matter of fact, our good friend Valley Dweller, who actually has a channel right here on YouTube. I'm not sure what it is offhand. I think it is his name, which is Jeremy Dale and not Valley Dweller. Needs to do something with JSON files, and he asked me specifically, how big is that? Let me actually find the thing here. I'm not going to display. I just wanted to be able to read it out exactly as he said. He asked, how big is the Sublime installer because JetBrains Rider is like a gig? And I said, not nearly as big as that. And he replied with, I was like, WTF, Rider, it's 2.73 gigabytes. And I said, the portable version of Sublime is 29 meg, so probably just slightly larger than that because it has an installer. But it's also not an IDE on the same level, depending on what it is that you're going to be doing. But all he's going to be doing is editing stuff in JSON files. But definitely it seems like the two sides of that coin are, let's give you every possible tool you or any developer could ever possibly use for any task at any time ever, so that once you get into our software, you never have to leave it. Or here's a small, tight, lean experience, and you add onto it the functionality that you need so that it's not bloated with menu items and features and slowdowns that aren't anything you're actually interested in. And I favor that kind more than the kitchen sink kind, specifically for the reasons that you mentioned there. Well, I mean, your display would be better. And you would allow me to drag tabs between windows. Good gravy. Their problem is that it's a multi-instance application, so there's no good way, the way they've designed it initially, to allow a tab to jump to another window, because basically a parent process would be swapping as well. So they need to do some work in that regard. And the thing that caught me about that is, isn't Windows Terminal like open source or something because it's on GitHub? Because if that's the case, shouldn't it be fixed by now? Because there are so many people that want that particular feature based on people that were chiming in on the issue tracker, but yet somehow it hasn't been implemented yet. And we always hear about how people will totally add features for you if you just make things open source. Oh, wow. Electron is definitely pretty popular. Discord. I think Discord is currently the only Electron app that I'm running. Yeah. Across anything, realistically. Oh, no, that's probably not true. I have Teams. On my work laptop, I have Mattermost, which is definitely a Electron application. And I want to say Teams is too, just because it's slow and awful. But maybe it's just slow and awful. It's hard to say. I was kind of perturbed with it earlier that it wouldn't let me do a markdown code block, but I can totally create a meme from inside of it. Thanks. That's handy. by the syntax author will be offered when prompting you a syntax. Setting it to false will. So that's one setting that we'd like to have in here, right? As far as our thing was concerned, setting to exclude hidden syntaxes. So there's that one. Setting to not display certain packages. Was there a reason why we thought that would be cool? Because I can't remember what the use case for that was. Oh, well, I mean, it doesn't hurt anything, right? I have to go back and watch that to see. Or just sort of leave that part out. Definitely that's a thing. Something that also occurred to me. Syntaxes that are hidden aren't currently marked up in here, but they could be. We could have two other kinds that have the same S and I on them, but a different color, like a yellow. This is the situation that I was thinking of here. And we would change that and that to yellowish. Something similar to that. Because, again, I don't know exactly how exciting that would be. But it seems like it would be nice to know, if you're looking at hidden syntaxes, which ones are actually hidden. Oh, and the other situation, which I thought would actually be handy, maybe, would be if you held down Control when you did it, instead of creating a scratch buffer, it opens the syntax definition. Does that sound like something that might be handy? I can see myself using it, but it doesn't necessarily lend itself perfectly well to this whole create scratch buffer situation here. Let's see. Where are we actually gathering this kind information? We need the syntax situation here. Hidden, you know, should have known. No, only because if you were curious about it. So it would be like an Easter egg, if anything. Or alternatively, maybe something to add to, maybe there could be similar to the browse command list that does that. You know, maybe you want a, browse for syntaxes. to show you all of them and the package that they're from, and you can easily narrow in on the ones that you're interested in and see where they're actually stashed and open them. Or similar to this thing here, developer open syntax or something. It's not what I would do personally. I would use view package file for that as well, but I had a clever idea. Yeah. Let's see. And inside here, and how awful is this as a situation? Where if this was shipped and it was hidden, then this, and if it was shipped, whoops, and it wasn't hidden. Wait, did I copy the right one? Shipped and hidden, shipped but not hidden. Yeah, I guess I would be able to tell that because it would be yellow, wouldn't it? And then if it was not shipped, then it's installed but hidden. So that goes like this. And then we use the kind map, and the argument we pass in is package in shipped packages, and then we specify whether it is syntax.hidden. Maybe we need some commas in these situations here. All right, well, that didn't work so great. What did I mess up there? That. Oh, this is an example of one that's yellow, so it's hidden. Probably need to change that hover pop-up too. And inside the batch file syntax, batch file is one and batch file compound is hidden. And that's why it's a different color. It's still shipped, but it's a different color. Binary is hidden. This seemed like it would be interesting to note. This is entirely me looking at this, but if you were going to be looking at something like this, you could look at override audit and say that although override audit syntaxes appear in here, none of them are actually visible. They're all things that the plugin applies on your behalf. And it seems like if you're going to see a list of these things, that would be kind of interesting information to have if you were going to show them in the first place. Right? It seems like to me, anyhow. And that one would have a... Just to have a different, little bit of action there. So scratch buffer, prompt for syntax. That is, come on, guy. A user installed package hidden. Oh, actually, Let's say we said that. Ships with Sublime Text for those ones, and these ones would be from a user installed package. So ASP ships with Sublime Text. Archive is from a user installed hidden package named file icons. We can actually see it right over there. And this is ships with Sublime Text, but it's hidden. I like that as a situation. I don't know that this is necessarily the greatest. Map the kinds of yeah. For display in the list. So overall, this allows for quickly and easily looking up the appropriate kind the source package ships with Sublime, and whether or not it's a hidden syntax or not. Packages that ship with Sublime Text. This is packages that are that in combination with that text, which is a little bit too long and thus likely to make various people hangry. It's probably all we need for that. And then we could get rid of that because we don't need it anymore. We don't need that anymore either, realistically. We do that. Now, that's also a nice, basically the reason I want to do that is because it's a nice, succinct, quick, easy way to do that. Now, let's say we swap this to false, because by default, the types of scratch buffers that you're going to be doing something with are, say, the types of files you normally work with and not the hidden syntaxes that might otherwise exist. So what we need to do as we're generating this list is something like s equals sublime.load settings, and it would be named, not that, it would be named scratch buffer.sublime settings. Show hidden is equal to s.get hidden syntax is defaulting to false if it's not actually present. So we could say something like if syntax dot hidden, if not show hidden and syntax hidden, that's not how you do that. The list of syntaxes is now a lot smaller than it was before. But preferences, package settings, scratch buffer settings, click the pencil, automatically flips the setting to true, which is nice. And does that actually have any effect on anything? No, hang on. Probably should, huh? All right, well, I guess we boned that up. Oh, whoops. Teehee. There's some hidden action. Then we go to Preferences, Package Settings. And Scratch Buffer and Settings. Set that back to false. I said set that back to false. And now they're no longer there. And then the last bit of that is we need the item for here. We want some but not all of these. So we don't want that one, but we do want these ones. And we put them into this. That's not going to do what I want, is it? No, it's not. Join. How do we normally? No, normally all one big long line, huh? All right. Standard options for being able to edit the package settings and it did it again, didn't it? Packages. No, sorry, package. Okay. There's our problem right there. User, oh. Installed packages include comment glory, even though you don't necessarily know where you got it from. Ha! Dandy. All right. That's pretty much it, I think. I can't remember why we would want to hide syntaxes from certain packages. Can't quite grok why we would want to do that. So I'm going to say actually don't want to do that. If that could stop happening, that would be great. So that is where we're going to call it here. I think we made up enough time for weird stuff that happened. We have a package, a very simple package, but quite useful. And it also displays some aspects of how you might want to do something like this. You might want to, no, that's cool. Have a Python version. You might want to have commands. You might want to have a menu item. You might want to have something with that. So with that, I think let us jump on out of here. Thanks to everybody for hanging out tonight. It was a bit of a weird stream. I apologize for that. Tech support issues being what they are, things tend to get real weird real fast at times. So in a few days' time, we will be back here next Monday. We will most certainly have a new modem by then, so hopefully this exercise does not repeat itself, and we will continue working on stuff. I think it might be time to start playing with LSP and getting a sense for installing it and installing helper packages and how to configure it and features that it has and all of that kind of stuff, because those are some videos that are going to be coming. As I mentioned at the beginning of this one when we were talking about things, there's going to be a video series coming that is an introduction to Sublime. Think of it like a little bit of a lot of different videos plucked out, made fresh, made more succinct in smaller bite-sized pieces that are going to be available for people that are interested in that sort of thing to be able to find the information that they're looking for in one easy thing. And we're also going to try to do the same thing for Sublime Merge, although that one will come after. And there's some other videos that we're going to be doing in here as well. And we hope to see you in future streams and in the comments section of future videos. Remember, you can always let me know if there's anything that you'd like to know about Sublime. We can try to work out a video for that and help you out, or point you at an existing resource. For now, though, we're going to jump out. If this was a Twitch stream, I'd say we were going to raid over to Valley Dweller, twitch.tv/Valley Dweller with a capital D in Dweller, who's currently working on some sweet animations because he's an artist extraordinaire. But we can't do that here yet, and we can't jump to other streams. So we're just going to say, I want you to please have a Sublime week, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a good one, everybody.